Hello and welcome to a new episode of FundEd360 English. And today's topic is very much dynamic, or that's related to the news. That's how Ukraine-Russia conflict affects Indian stock markets, and more specifically, which all sectors as well as companies that will be affected. Stay tuned. Keep watching. So we know that today market has sunk to almost 3% of its value, but this fall in market only can be considered as a panic triggered fall, because right now fundamentally nothing has been changed for Indian markets. But in a long run, if conflict sustains, what will happen? Which all companies will be affected? That's what today we are going to discuss. India's dependency on Russia as well as Ukraine is somewhat limited, but still certain sectors are heavily dependent on that Russian region countries, including the mainstream Russia itself. For example, in the case of edible oils. So apart from this, some more sectors are also fundamentally suffer in a long run if this conflict sustains. So one such sector is pharma. The second sector that may be affected is oil and gas. Third one is a few IT companies. And fourth one, obviously, as I told you, that's the edible oil sector, especially sunflower oil. First, we shall discuss about the edible oil sector. When it comes to edible oil sector, 90% of the sunflower oil seeds are being imported from Russia or from Ukraine. So altogether, Russia and Ukraine constitute almost 91.3% of total sunflower oil seed import bills. So that is the one sector going to be affected. So companies like Kriti Nutrients, Ruji Soya, Ajanta Soya, Vijay Solvex, all these people may face some raw material supply pressures in the future. The second sector is the pharmaceutical company sector, especially the companies like Dr. Reddy's and Sun Pharma. They have a greater exposure to Russia. So you can expect a larger volatility in their price movement as well as in their fundamental figures. 8.3% of the total API business that's being constituted, or the revenue is being generated from Russia for Dr. Reddy's. So that's one of the concerns. Oil and natural gas companies, that's a second sector going to be affected. So the companies like ONGC or Oil India, Petronet LNG, GAIL or Mahanagar Gas Limited, Gujarat Gas, Indraprastha Gas, these companies also may be affected because a larger chunk of this natural gas as well as the crude oil has been imported from various Russian or Russian allied companies. So have an eye on these companies also, because if conflict remains there for a quite a long time, the fundamentals as well as the estimation of revenue of these companies also will be affected. So the third sector is IT. Need not think that the entire IT space, but the bigger companies, those who have greater exposure in Russia or that region, they may suffer. So the IT companies that's located in, or those which have exposure in Europe or in the UK, that also will directly affected from Russian-Ukraine tension. So when we look on the order book, you can say that the companies like Mastech, Tata Elxsi, First Source, Tech Mahindra and even TCS, their expected revenue also may be affected because of this. One another company that's not in any of this sector that we have discussed, but that company also may be affected because of this, because of their investments there in Russia. That company is Carborundum Universal. So Carborundum Universal is a Murugappa Group company, and they are the leading manufacturers and the developer of abrasives, ceramics, refractories, aluminum oxide grains, machine tools, polymers and electrominerals. So Russian subsidiary of Carborundum Universal that has 25% of stake worth almost 650 crores, and the total revenue generated from that in the last year is nearly 2000 crores. So that is also a concern for Carborundum Universal if this tension mounts. The subsidiary of Carborundum Universal there in Russia is Volsky Abrasive Works. So right now we are very much keen on India's response on this issue. So if India started to find a place somewhere with the Ukraine supporters, some sectors may be adversely affected, especially the companies that we have discussed now. So have an eye on these companies and try to mitigate the risk associated with these companies if you have these companies in your portfolio. This video is just for your information. Need not think that this political unrest as well as this Ukraine-Russia conflict sustains. The probability of sustaining such conflict is very less. But the investor sentiment on this conflict as well as the associated companies and sectors plays a vital role in the price movement of these companies. So stay updated, keep up focused. That's all for now. See you in the next video. Till then, bye from Manu.